Today we got Peter the Great versus Louis XIV. I got an expert in history here, Zarar Raja. Who do you think's going to win this one?
Thank you for having me, David. I think it's actually going to be a blowout.
Wow.
Peter the Great and Louis XIV. Louis XIV, he's not a guy of high stature. He's around 5'4", and then our boy Peter the Great, he's about 6 feet 7 inches. All right, we're here for the first event of the day. We're seeing the jousting competition. All right, we got Louis and Peter ready. They're getting on their armor, and I wanted to ask, David, who do you think is going to win? We've never seen these two head-to-head in a fight, perchance, but do they have any history? We could use their military history, perchance,
for sure,
to learn about how they may fare in a one-to-one hand fight.
For sure, yeah. I guess I'll start with Peter. In the past, we've seen Peter fight in battles on the field where he actually leads his army.
Actually there.
Actually on the field,
on the
which,
front.
to be fair, we haven't seen Louis do that yet. He tends to take the back step on that one and let his people go ahead. But most famously for Peter, at the Battle of Poltava in 1709, he took a crazy good win, very decisive with his military
might and power, yes,
for sure.
And to add on what you're saying, in the Great Northern War against Sweden, he gained so much territory, and with that courage and that bravery, it might actually be what'll take him over the edge. And again, this isn't to disregard, Louis. His armor. He might have enough bands, maybe to try to get himself some shiny new armor or something nice.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we also got to look at this. Louis is 5'4", and Peter is around 1.03 meters, which it's quite ridiculous to assume that someone with that big of an arm span will not be able to beat someone who is 5'4".
If you're a French fan going into this match, it's a reality that you guys are gonna have to face. This is gonna be a tough one for your leader Louis to overcome. Although we will see. But it's an overwhelming.
Sorry for all those Parisians who are about to lose their parlay right now.
Yeah.
A few moments later.
Okay, welcome back, history folks. Today we're here with an expert on this last jousting competition. So quick question, was this an expected result?
Yeah, it didn't surprise me at all because obviously Peter is 6'7" compared to Louis XIV's height of 5'4". Another thing is Peter loved military life and he put himself in danger all the time, so not surprised.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back, folks. We're here in the second competition of the day. It's the race around the world. I'm here with expert Zarar Raja.
Thank you for having me, David.
Yeah, of course. He's going to be telling us a little bit about the competition. Both competitors have their strengths. One more than another, maybe not.
I think, quite frankly, this is going to be a blowout. We're going to see Peter easily win. He's a man of action, travel, and adaptability. Louis is more about that luxury and ceremony.
Sure.
Him being the Sun King, he thinks that, he's above everyone else. He's charging everyone. He's telling them what to do. Meanwhile, Peter's a man of this more Protestant thinking. Even though he's not himself a Protestant, he thinks that he should himself go down and work with these people. Even though he's actually taller than him, he's 6'7". He's 6'7". In terms of the Navy, Peter the Great himself was very interested in naval activities. He himself loved shipbuilding, which is surprising. You don't see that in monarchs, especially in that time. The modern Russian Navy actually dates to this Navy that Peter the Great made.
Okay.
And
thank you so much.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you so much.
It's gonna be a
so
blowout.
we're going to get back to you guys on updates in this race. The expert says...
Wait, you can actually see right there, Peter the Great.
Oh,
right
my God.
there. It seems Louis XIV is behind commanding his people while Peter the Great himself is commandeering the ship. Seems like this is the same group he had on his grand embassy, his tour around Europe where he was inspecting the Western European powers, and this is where he decided he needs to modernize Russia to make it an empire. And with those modernizations, along with the fact that Peter himself was greatly interested in his navy and took part in shipbuilding himself, I feel like Peter's getting this win. Alright, now we're at the talent show section. Right now, as you can see, we are flying over Peter the Great's palace that he's made in St. Petersburg. A city, might I mention, he himself made in spite of it being on marshy swampland. He's made the city a port hub. Modern day, fourth most popular city in all of Europe. Quite frankly, it's architectural marvel, and it shows Peter the Great's architectural savviness. He himself was a big fan of architecture and was single-handedly the one who wanted to make this palace in response actually to Louis XIV who made Versailles. He wanted this to be a response that's just as, if not, I believe personally, more grand, because he himself was a big member of being in charge of making this castle a castle. This palace is beautiful. To tell you guys more about this marvel is on the ground, my correspondent Nick will let you guys in more details.
His passion for transforming Russia into a modern European power is obvious in his construction. He personally oversaw the design and building processes, famously stating, "I have conquered an empire, but I have built a city." Louis, on the other hand, is incapable of managing even basic responsibilities without relying heavily on others. He can't even take care of his own hygiene, rejecting showers whenever the matter about his smell was brought up. While Peter leads with innovation and determination, Louis depends on others to carry out his will, being incapable of doing even the simplest of tasks by himself.
So much for his son king.
She played the fiddle in an Irish band, but she fell in love with an Englishman. Kissed her on the neck and then I took her by the hands. And baby, I just wanna dance. I met her on Grafton Street, right outside of the